Welcome to Money on Tap. Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters, where we bring out the professionals' experience and some fun in what we call three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. That's what we do on this show. We look at all sides of the issues, and we bring a fully independent planning perspective to the table.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. Folks, it's so good to have you aboard with us today. We're getting close to the end of the year, and it's there's just a lot to do, right? We've got all sorts of things that are passing through our mailboxes, across our emails and our relationships, and we are going to have some fun here on Money on Tap with you, and so glad to have you aboard. My name's Seth Pressman. I'm joined here once again with Ben Brayshaw and Dan Mickelon. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing good, Well, no, actually, I haven't finished shopping for Christmas. I got to be honest. I thought I was, but, I just realized I'm not.
I'm very close, but glad to get into the holiday spirit and, enjoy some family and friends. It's going to be a good time.
If I actually just don't buy for you guys, I'm done.
Then be done. Be done.
Then you're done.
That's the best gift you guys could have given me.
One less thing to do. That's valuable. That's good.
I can give you that gift all year long, Ben. All year long. We have today a show, 10 financial New Year's resolutions for you. As you're wrapping up that shopping or the New Year's celebrating for yourself and looking ahead to 2023. It is going to be awesome to spend some time kind of going through the checklist of what you can do for this next year to prepare yourself. With that, what? What's the weather like over there? You guys getting some seasonal ice storms or snowstorms? Because I know that that's what we're preparing for over here. We're kind of getting our first wave of the winter weather.
Yeah, we got a little bit of snow. It's not going to be a white Christmas, though. I think we get some rain coming. It's going to wash it out. But we got a little taste of snow. It's getting cold. Today's cold, but it's been pretty mild so far, though. Pretty nice.
Yeah, it's nice. It's going to be 50 this weekend.
Yeah, take that.
Oh, no. That's not the weather that's been moving across from the west towards the east that's causing all sorts of havoc across the rest of the country. But so it sounds nice to be you. It might as well be like Hawaii, 50 degrees.
Not quite. Not quite.
It's not Hawaii. It's definitely not Hawaii. I'm excited about today's show, though. I think this is going to be a big piece. A lot of people are coming out of kind of a crazy financial spin between COVID and post-COVID, and there's a lot of people trying to regain their bearings and figure things out. There's been a $10 trillion push through our economy, so some people are kind of coming out of businesses that are surviving from that, or kind of like re-getting ground, and there's just a lot of stuff going on for business owners. Whether you're running a plumbing company or you're running a restaurant or you're a law firm, it doesn't make a difference. Like, everyone's kind of coming out of that space. At least that's the resonating conversation I have with a lot of different people. It's kind of like, yeah, we're trying to find kind of the new normal, like the new pace of life and rhythm. And I think with that, this show, 10 financial New Year's resolutions, will be good for a lot of people to kind of get bearing on their financial status and the standards that they're going to live by, and maybe how they're going to move forward in life as they kind of regain ground and figure out, hey, what's important to me? Before it was like family and spending time and getting past COVID. Now it's, kind of a recentering on, saving and retirement and, family and, kind of that whole pastime of the traditional American story.
I mean, for sure, things have changed for all of us in a way that we haven't experienced for quite some time. And we're coming off of, a 12, 13-year bull market where we had very stable interest rates and a pretty good job market, into a period now where everything costs more. You need to order everything in advance. You never get what you want on time, right? And so all of these restraints around how we engage with our economy have changed. Things are different now, and it takes a different level of preparedness and awareness of your finances, and not to mention just market conditions in general.
And that's the problem I've had with all your gifts.
Yeah, well, they're in the mail.
Yeah.
Supply chain,
Supply chain
things
issue.
like that. Things
Next
like that.
12 months.
So, I think it is a good point. New Year's resolutions come around for everybody, whether that's, a new gym membership or, this you're going to eliminate, that you're going to add. It's complicated enough in all of life, but, your financial concerns are, as important as the rest. And I think we got a couple, pretty simple tips here for you to help get you in the right frame of mind and get you prepared to prepare for the next year.
Gosh, that reminds me, I should probably start to pay attention to what the scale's telling me before the holiday finishes up. That way I know how on target I am for my ideal weight. I'm not going to make that a resolution this year, you guys, and that's just one less thing on my plate. I don't know about you guys. What we have for you today, before we get going into 10 financial New Year's resolutions, which these are the resolutions that you want to do anyways. So we can't wait to get there with you. It is time for Money in the News.
Up first, we've got an article here from Nathaniel Meyerson coming out of CNN. Things are out of control. No one knows how much to tip. And we actually touched on this in the last show, getting into really this new trend in the retail world, particularly around food places, which is just, I thought it was only on my mind, but clearly this is creating a lot of anxiety for people. And I think the article highlights that, where, you're stepping up to a counter and you're paying for, essentially not quite self-service food, but you're going to collect what you've bought and you're going to bring it to a table and essentially wait on yourself and eat and move on. But now there's an expectation around a tip for that, which is new, where you get the, the credit card pad just kind of turned your way, eyes on you, people behind you in line, the person who just served you, and there's a certain expectation around, well, now we need to tip these people. And, before that, it was really never the case. And the article is interesting as it points to the fact that this is something that came out of the pandemic, many of the phenomena that arose out of that, where, the people were of the mindset to support their local restaurants. And, that was great. I think there was a period of time where that was important, where they were unable to serve at tables, the people who've traditionally worked hard to kind of create that experience for you, were just unable to do so and, needed to find a way to make ends meet. And so there was this period of time where that support was necessary for the places we frequent. But I'm not sure that's the case anymore. And it's a habit that's kind of stuck. And it's it's on people's minds. How do you address this, right?
What I see here is not necessarily a massive cultural shift here. What do I mean by that? Why I feel like this has been driven to where it's at is because we have become a cashless society, right? I mean, how many times do you actually pull out the wad and you're like, okay, here's $20 for my cup of coffee. Thank you for my change. Here, have my change. I rarely do that anymore. And so everything has been moved over to the credit cards, and credit card providers or processors, it's just an automatic for them to go ahead and include that on the screen or the payment screen or whatever, unless it's Starbucks, which is now moving towards that, which seems like they would have been at the forefront of adding that to their credit card processing system because they have such a tipping culture around what they've been doing forever. What I'm going to enjoy about this is when I do get to the gas pump and, I pay for my gas, I pump my gas, and I can tip myself.
There you go. That's innovation right there. That's something I like. This is your inflation buster.
Tip myself. Well, I think this thing, we talk about, I've talked for years, like, go to restaurants that don't require a tip, like, just save some money because people just need to kind of get a break from life, just changing the, I think of Bill Murray and, Groundhog Day, that movie, and just, all the different pieces that people are kind of going to that rhythm. So going to a restaurant that's just a order at the thing and go sit down, next thing you know, you feel, and I felt the same way, like, should I tip for this ice cream? Like, yeah, okay, I will, but why is it like 15 or 20%? Like, usually you give them $1, and that's, I don't know. I'm not doing the math in my head per se, but, here's $1, But like you go and you order a coffee from Starbucks and I want some coffee with some cream. You know, I'm already paying $6 or something like that. I'm only buying it here because I'm not home making it for 30 cents.
Yeah, I mean, when it was just the change, your point's good, Seth, about the cash transactions, right? You know, I would leave him the change just so it wasn't caught up in my keys and you're messing with it in your pocket, you know, just to get rid of it, right? So, you know, that was perfectly reasonable. And, you know, I've got family who's worked in the restaurant environment for a long time, and I remember sitting with them and rolling coins, you know, once a month or whatever. I mean, people made money in that scenario. But, you know, now, you know, even for takeout and things like that, you know, the 10, 15, 20% notion on takeout, I've always just, you know, for takeout, given them a flat rate. It's usually $3, $5, whatever it is, you know. But one of the places I frequent for takeout, it's the owner who's given me the food. I was like, do I really need to tip the owner for handing me a bag? I mean, I know that they're, you know, participating handsomely in the revenue of this place. It's not some waitress who's, you know, making less than your standard minimum wage.
Well,
so why am I tipping the owner to hand me a bag?
Well, that's the thing. Like I was at a taco place, and I was like, you know, I'm literally standing there waiting for my food. I ordered it, and then I don't know, some things. I mean, but it's tip for everything. Yeah. I don't know about you, but everything has tip. It's literally overwhelming.
Yeah, and you know, and the article hits on kind of the history of tipping, which was some interesting stuff that I had never been aware of. Kind of where it all came from, and it's rooted in some, you know, not real pleasant places, you know, for kind of the post-slavery era when people had opportunities to, you know, essentially be taken advantage of by their employers and offer them a lesser rate because they would grant them the ability to collect tips.
Yeah, it was the period where slaves became employees and they, you know, were paid, you know, unfair wages, and so they would work, you know, tremendously hard to try to get. Most of them were porters, and they were trying to get, you know, more money to have a survivable income. That was really what this was all about. And
yeah, to the point it was outlawed for a period of time in a number of states, and then it was, you know, however, you know, flipped back into law in the 1938 Fair Labor Standards Act, you know, which allowed for wages less than the federal minimum if tipping was involved.
You know, I may be old school, but I kind of standard tip everybody 15% for dinner. But if you're a good waiter or waitress, I tip 20. Like I'm just straight up, here's 20, and it's on top of tax and, you know, everything else. So, and that's always kind of been my go-to as a kind of a, like even if you're a below average waiter or waitress, or my food was bad or cold or whatever, like I don't really punish you. It's not your fault. You weren't the cook. I've never stiffed anybody in tipping. You know, I did waitering through college. You know, Seth did that too. You know, like all those things. So I mean, I can appreciate the struggles of that industry, but I was at a restaurant the other day, and the minimum tip option for hitting automatic was 20. I was like,
oh,
and I was like, whoa! And this person was horrendous.
Yep. Sorry, no tip.
Yeah, because they probably figure, well, I'm getting 20%, whatever. You know, because that's what you're. That's
why put the effort in now?
Yeah,
that's the other.
Go ahead.
That's the other side of the coin here. Is like, Ben, you said that you're not punishing people for, you know, food cold or whatever. You know, some of the changes that we've experienced since the pandemic, I think, has really been customer service has fallen off a cliff. I'm amazed at how often. Well, shoot, we were just at a pizza place with an arcade for the kids, and I'm sitting there with the kids with a line a mile long trying to exchange tickets for toys, and the guy behind the counter sitting there on his phone the whole time and yelling at the kids and just being a not nice person. I wish I had an option to be like, hey, here's your tip, buddy. No tip, you know? But that's a common experience today. And the other thing around that I was actually amazed, Ben, you brought up waiting tables in college. Waiting tables out in Oregon before being there. I remember getting that paycheck from wherever we were working at and seeing that, you know, I felt like I had been discounted from the minimum wage down to like $2, which was what was happening. And I could not believe that. I didn't believe that was actually legal for them to do that, because that's just not done on the West Coast. It was very much an East Coast thing to have a server be paid $2 and change, and then the rest you make up with tips. Thank goodness, you know, we were supposed to starve when we were in college. So that was our experience.
That's funny.
Well, folks, thank you so much to Alexandra Canal from Yahoo Finance. Disney will start process to spin off ESPN, ABC in 2023, says Wells Fargo. And that's their prediction, folks. We don't have it inked. It's not for sure. So please don't go out to the ticker and buy and sell based off that today, because this is a prediction, and this is something that's been talked about many, many times in the world of Disney and the conglomerate of Disney and ESPN and ABC. Is what will they do? Will they remain intact, or will they go ahead and spin off the ESPN ABC part of the business?
I think this is a tremendously interesting article, and I think what people, for me, it's just, maybe it's my naivete of, the value of different types of organizations. But ESPN, ever since the massive legalization of gambling and the use of that, and DraftKings and all this other stuff, ESPN is worth a lot more money by far. And there's a lot of interested buyers for ESPN inside the space that makes it, just because of the world of sports gambling.
And that's, one of the challenges here is, when you're Disney, marketing to children and the kind of the wholesome family experience, how do you fit that in under the umbrella? And that's, I think, part of the impetus here to consider the spinoff and just really separate entities. So you can let the sports focused with the potential access to gambling and all the kind of overlapping business interests that exist in that world, to operate separately without concerns around kind of the moral, ethical aspect of being a company that caters to children and families.
Yeah, it's really, just to think, I just didn't put that financial perspective to the value of Disney. Of ESPN and with Disney. I just never, I understand the sports betting area. I'm like, how did I not even? I'm like, that's just the dumbest thing out there for me. And I'm just really interested because Disney's, and Bob Iger's like, listen, we want to provide family entertainment, and sports is part of that. So it's really interesting that everyone's predicting that they're going to spin this off, but yet Bob Iger, when he was taking over, was like, I don't really have a plan of selling ESPN.
Yeah, well, the main challenge at Disney right now is how to make money in streaming, which they've suffered with and have been unable to do. All that used to get priced up based upon subscriptions, but now that's kind of worked its way through the market and what its value means to a streaming service. Now it's really about revenue. Can you be profitable in it? And thus far they haven't been. So they need to find some way to return on that.
With Hulu, ESPN, and Disney Plus and all that stuff, it's just so complicated. How many sign-ins do you have to get to the content you're paying for one scenario? Right? That's annoying. The fact that nobody's actually addressed that, I don't necessarily understand. If you pay for a subscription, it's like, all right, well, I paid for Disney Plus. It should be one login, and you turn on and off the different subscriptions, just like you used to have with like cable. If you paid for HBO, you had that, but you didn't have Showtime, but the channel was there.
And one of the values in ESPN is, sporting events a la carte, right? So you don't have to buy the channel and constantly stream it if there's really a handful of events per year that you're interested. So, they could actually position themselves essentially in the pay-per-view market now.
Right.
And now they can compete to carry the big fights in the UFC.
But are you going to download the app, right? So you're not going to download the app just to, unless there's one specific event that you're going to want to do, unless you're paying for it already. Right. So if it's one login and they're advertising the event, I think we should be working for Disney. I think we should call Bob and listen, we can solve 5 of your problems right now.
I'm interested in that.
You actually touched on some memories I didn't even realize I'd suppressed. The whole snafu of getting logged into ESPN and then Hulu and then Disney, and then am I getting credits from Verizon for what I'm supposed to on my current plan, and how does that work out?
Right.
Gosh,
is that the most
double
complicated?
billing?
I know, double billing. This stuff is...
Yeah.
I lose sleep over double billing on $4.99.
The hours it's going to take to actually get a representative on there for you. Well, okay. So Jason Bazinet from Citi did happen to say that, or tell Yahoo Finance Live that we're very much against spinning off ESPN. Feels it's the dumbest thing ever. So there's the other side of the coin for you folks. That's going to do it for Money in the News. When we come back, we're going to bring to you 10 financial New Year's resolutions. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
For a number of our listeners, they have a lot of questions, and you might be one of them. Today, we're just offering what we call Zoominars, webinars over Zoom meeting rooms where we have top experts, Social Security, estate planning, and financial planning experts for you to speak with, do a private consultation that way today. We're also having webinar-based Zoominars where we're going to have multiple groups where you can be part of that and enjoy that as well. Give us a call at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com to schedule your Zoominar.
We appreciate you listening to Money on Tap with Ben, Seth, and Dan. You can contact us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. And now, more of this week's program.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. We are bringing to you 10 financial New Year's resolutions. And this is a show that's, it's timely because we realize that everybody right now is creating their list of what I need to start to work on over this next year. We're going to bring the appropriate information. It's timely, and it's going to simplify your next step, which is what we talk about in Money on Tap, bringing your next step in your financial journey. And so without further ado, number one, believe it or not, folks, is save more. Who doesn't want to save more in 2023?
Yeah, I think this is really like whether it's $1 or $100 or $1,000 or $10,000 or whatever it is that you want to save more of. I think, setting any sort of goal is important. And I think all New Year's resolution goals, people sometimes make astronomical goals and they can never meet them. Make small goals. Get big, get wins, feel success, feel all of that. Make goals that you can achieve. So make your subset goal, and then if you can do more, great. Say, like, if you want to say, hey, I want to save $50 a month. All right, well, put it at $50 a month for the first month. And if you get 2 or 3 months down the road, move it up to 60. Move it up, get yourself to the point where you can keep pushing yourself. And if it gets to the point where it's too much, then you dial it back, but you're still above your goal.
Yeah, I mean, the whole notion of having these goals and being resolved to do it, right, resolution, is the notion that you can stay flexible with it. Be committed to the practice and adjust over time, right?
Be committed to the practice. I like that.
That's right.
I'm going to steal that quote.
What I think is good to do with these savings is to consider opening up some type of an after-tax investment account, right? So don't just set the money aside. Set it aside in a way that could work for you and allow you to grow upon that. And the biggest issue that we're all facing right now financially in terms of managing a budget and making ends meet is this notion of inflation. So setting aside $1 is great, and that's a huge step in the right direction. But setting aside that $1 in a way that can actually earn something for you is the better next step. That's the next realization you got to bring yourself to. And that doesn't mean you have to get invested in the stock market or do anything that's, in any kind of way considered high risk. I mean, we have the ability here to open up a brokerage account and offer a CD that's paying, a 6-month CD, 4.5% right now, which is a phenomenal rate. It's not locked up long term, but you are at least in some degree offsetting inflation.
Dan, you bring up a really great point there as far as the options that we have right now in that kind of that fixed rate world and how to save and how you can save more effectively. One of the things that's really amazing inside of those brokerage accounts is that we have the ability, or there's the ability to FDIC insure up to $5 million in that brokerage account. The way it's broken up and the way that it works out with basically having that insured through multiple sources, it's something that you're not going to find at the bank around the corner, and that's a cool thing too.
That's a good point, Seth. And that's $5 million for husband and wife accounts, so joint, or $2.5 million for an individual, which is 10 times the amount at the bank. And that's pretty phenomenal. I'm glad you brought that up. That's great. And I think, we can buy, we have money markets there. We've got CDs there. There's lots of different options in the banking side of our brokerage world. That's pretty phenomenal. We use Pershing, which is the largest clearinghouse in the world. It's owned by Bank of New York Mellon. And partnering with them has been one thing that's been really strong for us in that space, especially the cash space. And that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, that wealth management side of the firm is pretty cool what the abilities are to be able to do. So, you know what? The idea here is wherever you're at, save more. Move the needle. That's what we're talking about. Just a couple degrees is all it takes. Or think a little differently about what you're doing and where you're doing it. That can make a big difference as well. Number 2, improve your credit score. And with that, we've got a couple other, subtopics inside of that. What can you do to improve your credit score? Number 1, did you know that anytime you go out and you acquire new debt, that does affect your credit score? They have to, run your credit and check on you. So that's a credit check, and that dings your credit score. And alongside of that, we would say no new credit cards. That new line of credit or that new offer on the credit card, and we get it. There might be some out there that are unique to fitting your circumstance, and that's what's important. But just the idea or the feel good around getting a new card that sometimes people like, probably not going to help you out in improving your credit score.
Yeah, I think the credit score piece is important. I just even monitoring that and so forth, is a big issue. As we get into the kind of the third item here, what I would say is, and we say this all the time, is create a personal budget. And, that's become significantly easier over the last number of years. I think, creating a budget and having that, and even monitoring how you keep yourself in the budget, can be done with things as simple and as easy as apps that you can connect your credit cards to and your banking information to. I think Mint.com is owned by QuickBooks. I've used that app myself. I don't use it currently, but I had tried it out and so forth. I didn't implement a lot of it. But it was really interesting because I was really trying to figure out where we were spending money, because I felt like we were overspending in certain areas. And my wife and I had a conversation about it. She's like, yeah, where do you think we're doing it? And honestly, we found out it was, coffee and dining out and so forth. We felt like that was, when we actually looked at it, we didn't really feel like we were overspending when we were doing it. But when we looked at the actual total number at the end of the year, we were like, wow, that's way more money than we want to put out in that space.
Yeah, some of the banking apps you already use probably have some extension of that. I know I bank with Bank of America, and so the app I have on my phone just for balances and just general banking access, it does have a feature where it'll track your spending. Now, it's not, because I'm not manually recategorizing anything. It's kind of doing a little bit of guesswork, but it can break down kind of your larger categories and make some things blatantly obvious. For us, it's not so much eating out, but just money spent at the grocery store.
I know. I was just thinking that. Grocery store.
Incredible, When I think of a budget mentally and say, well, what percentage of my income would I want to allocate to groceries? It is not that number. That's two different things right there.
We had people come into our house and, Christmas and everything. And my wife said she went to the grocery store and some lady passed her and said, I'm glad I'm not paying your bill right now. I think it was overloaded. We got friends and family, and it's just.
When you're dragging that second cart, you probably want to step too far.
When someone tells you they're bringing a salad for Christmas, you're like, yeah, thanks a lot. After you spent the money on the groceries. I'm sorry. Seth.
Well, I'm not bringing prime rib, that's for sure, bud. Well, let's go ahead and pay off that credit card while we're looking at our budget and our personal budget. And if we can, let's pay that off on time or entirely. And, that's amazing to me, actually, how sometimes what a struggle that is to just pay off that card on time. You get it in the mail, you see it there, or you get it on your app, however you're looking at it, and you set it aside because, who really wants to go ahead and just, spend the money right now when I've got it in front of me? I'll do it when I'm darn good and ready, when I've got that feeling like I just have to do it. But if you can, folks, either set the time aside on it, just in creating this habit on a weekly basis to just do a quick review and pay them. Just get that money out of your pocket and into theirs, because that's going to serve the purpose better than just sitting there and camping out on it. And if you can, just make that a zero balance. And I realize for a lot of people, especially at this time of year, taking a look at this holiday spending, that's a real challenge, is to get that balance back to zero. But if you can, prioritize and focus on that. See what other things you can do. Maybe don't go out and, eat out as much. Or, maybe like just yesterday when I was doing some shopping, I kind of passed by a few of those holiday deals that are starting to show up right now, which for us are like some storage containers. They're 50% off. I'm like, maybe I need like 5 of these things, which would be great. Maybe I just take a pass on that and go ahead and put that money towards that balance.
And just understanding, how your credit score works, right? So there's a number of things that work for you, there's a number of things that work against you, but, the number of accounts you have open and the relationship between the debt that you actually own and what they're willing to offer you, what's the top end of your credit line, is a huge factor in that, right? So having a card that's got a healthy credit line that you can work your way down to zero is going to be, or at least a lower percentage of that overall credit line they're offering you, is going to really boost your score in significant ways. So be strategic in which cards you choose to pay off and how you do that.
Yeah, it is. I do, though, find that sometimes if you have a few cards, sometimes if you have a card that's just like it's a lower balance, and even though it might be a lower interest rate, it's kind of like getting one out of your life really feels good. And that kind of allows you to kind of re-amplify. So I think if you have like one really pay it off, cut it up, go to the next ones. That I think is really the best, just from if you got 3 cards and you're bouncing around, just get rid of one, and that can sometimes just really amplify your goal to go get it done. So
you're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. Today we're talking about 10 financial New Year's resolutions. So far we have covered save more, improve your credit. Number 2, that was number 1. Save more. Number 2, improve your credit score. No new debt, no new credit cards. Number 3, create a personal budget. Maybe use an app. Check out some new technology on that new budget. 4, pay off credit card and or on time and entirely. Moving us to number 5. Examine the rates on all of your debt. Take a look at the fixed, take a look at the variable, but take a look is the key, and understand what those rates mean and what are your options.
Yeah, especially in the credit card world, there's either opportunities to renegotiate, to move the balance to a lower card. There are actually still some of those zero rate on transfer balances for X number of months. Those opportunities still exist. I don't see them like I used to, but they're out there. So, if you're taking on a lot of debt, understand how much of that is really interest that you're paying out to whoever your creditors are, and see if there's not an opportunity to improve your standing there.
Yeah, I think and you got to be careful on those credit card transfers. I mean, there's one we had seen that looked pretty interesting, but in the conversation of doing some research, but not prepared to offer companies to go look at. But careful, because some companies will offer you 0% for 12 or 24 months, and then all of a sudden, but it's 3% on the fee to transfer it over. So
and it will spike after that period.
And it will spike. It will spike into the mid-high 20s. So be careful. There's nobody really out there that we're prepared to offer on. But that was interesting. Number 6 we have is credit monitoring and ID theft protection. This is something that's just becoming significantly more obligatory and burdensome for people. We've looked at a lot of different programs. There's a number of them out there. We actually have plans on doing a show on that with one of our hosts that we guest we had a while back. She is involved in kind of that oversight. I think we should probably look at doing a show on that, particularly because I get a lot of calls on that. I actually had a call the other day about who do we recommend or use. And when we don't have anybody, but I do know that you can check with your P&C agent, your auto and home agent. Some insurance policies do have some protection in that space, so I would check that. The second thing is there's obviously a number of providers out there on the internet. How good or bad or indifferent to the kind of protection and coverage you need versus the cost is something that you probably want to personally evaluate, but still something to really take heed and have.
Yeah, I know my wife fell into one of these traps this weekend. She was selling something on Facebook Marketplace, and someone contacted her back to say, hey, essentially there's a lot of scams out there. I'm going to send you this verification code, send it back to me and we can further the conversation, which she did. A quick Google search after she told me about it, found that's a trap to hijack your phone number, and then who knows where you can go from there. So anyway, these threats are plentiful. They evolve. They're constantly out there. You have to be very mindful of who you interact with on the internet and protect your accounts. Be aware, monitor those things because people can get attached to your bank accounts quicker than you think.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, they've also got a lot of technology out there, the RFID scanning technology, where if they get within proximity, they can just grab the information off of your phone and off of your card. So, having a wallet that protects you from that, or a bag that protects you from that, it was something I was reminded of the other week. My wallet's on shamefully like 10 or 15 years old. I don't even know the last time I changed out my wallet. But guess what? One of my kids is getting me for Christmas, guys.
Nice.
You shouldn't know that, Seth. That's a bad dad. Number 7. Now, this is obviously probably in our wheelhouse here, but having a financial planner, if you don't have one, get one. If you're not sure, give us a call. Happy to help. 855-226-8551 or email us info@yourmoneyontap.com. We know a lot of people throughout the country. So if you're listening to us in Colorado or Ohio or somewhere in the Midwest, we're bound to know somebody that could be of help if you want somebody personally in your back door kind of location to get support. If you're in New England out west, we have 12 offices in 8 states. We've got people regionally that can probably help service you and meet your needs. But separate from a financial planner, we've talked about financial coaches. We also think financial coaches are, a really good way to start if you're not financially prepared potentially for a financial planner. If you feel like that's going too far, most financial planners will meet with you in regard to just kind of helping you through the initial phases of that. But if you really need coaching, that's a different conversation. But you're bound to get some pretty reasonable gifting of that type of advice from a financial planner as well.
Yeah, I think that the difference is, financial coaches can help you focus in on credit and debt, which is, a big part of the New Year's resolution of your finances here. But once you've kind of stabilized that and got a clear picture on, where your money's going on a monthly basis, part of that budget exercise as well, if you can find excess there, then that's when the financial planner comes into play. Or if you're contributing to a retirement account through an employer, you need financial advice on that. So there's kind of a point of demarcation there between the coach and the planner. But when you find yourself in a position where you need to get invested or want advice around that, as Ben said, we got many avenues to help with that.
Seth, when you sit down with somebody, if they don't have enough money, what do you do?
Well, first of all, I like to bring up goals. Those are some of the things that are very important when we're talking about building out a plan. And, if they're not at a place where they're ready to go ahead and start to work with me, I want to make sure that we're getting them prepared to get there. And that can be simple. Doing a lot of what we're talking about right here today, folks, is what we would probably wind up talking about. Let's take a look at where your debt's at. Let's see what we can do to start getting some momentum on paying off that first credit card. And it's, momentum is such a huge part of this. Mindset is such a huge part of this. And if we can start to get those goals out in front of you and start to set something up for this month and for the next 6 months, guess what? we're going to get there in a very short period of time. A lot sooner than if you didn't show up and you didn't go through the steps of just getting in touch with us first of all.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think that's exactly where I'm at. Like when people come in, I'm just happy that people are willing to take that step, because I'll be here when you're leaving one job and going to another and you're like, hey, I really want to get more advice and oversight on my 401k. Well, we can bring that in for you, and we can help manage that for you and take care of that. Those are the kind of the stages of that as we kind of help you build that financial foundation. It's a lifetime relationship. It's really carrying you from point A to point B. So most financial planners are not going to be, a straight objection to sitting down with you and having a conversation to see how that relationship might be able to pan out and work in a financially favorable way for you, and that you might be able to become a client. It's the whole reason.
I mean, I've had a number of people come to me and say, oh, hey, this is my second or third call over the last few years. I kept getting turned away because I didn't have whatever the minimum was to meet some financial planner's accounts, And I always just, kind of scoff at that, just like you did, Ben. Like, how rude can you be? I mean, there's always something you can offer or counsel somebody that help them feel better about, meeting their own goals and then coming back to you when the time's right.
Just being a nice person.
Turn them away. Like, yeah, you don't have enough money. Don't waste my time. Like you will never get that perspective here from us. I mean, it's just, I find it outrageous, quite honestly.
I know. It's like you're not even on the Barron's top 1,000 list, and I've heard that 1,000 times over. I mean, we know some of the largest producers in the country, and I mean, people that say that it makes my mouth sour. So we really do try to help, and we may not be the person to answer your problems or solve your concerns specifically, but we'll definitely help give you some direction. We'll definitely help get you to the right place, or at least try to. And I think that's a fair promise by anybody.
Folks, you are listening to Money on Tap, 10 financial New Year's resolutions, and it is time to give you this information. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more Money on Tap and 10 financial New Year's resolutions.
Hey folks, Seth Cressman, Brayshaw Financial Group is our company, and we bring to you Money on Tap. I say we, that's Ben and I. We have a lot of fun doing this show. And one of the things that we love about doing Money on Tap is that our goal for you to have access to the financial planning world. How do we think? What are we doing? What are we talking about? Raising the bar of your financial education. It's so critical. And that's what we're doing here. The other side of this is as well, we're financial planners. If you are looking to work with a financial planner, if you want to have that playbook for you to understand the important things right now and how you're going to get to your goals or how you're going to retire successfully, that's what we're doing as well. If you have $250,000 of investable assets, give us a call. It's free to you, and it is worth your time to pick up that phone and give us a call and discover what complete wealth management looks like. Ben and I are excited about the opportunity to partner with you and give you that financial plan that's going to make the next step so much better understood and get you where you need to go.
You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. And now, more Money on Tap with Ben, Seth, and Dan.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. We are talking about 10 financial New Year's resolutions. And if you're just joining us, to get you up to speed, we're on number 8. But to get you there, we've talked about save more, improve your credit score, create a personal budget, maybe use some new technology or an app to do that, pay off the credit cards or pay them on time, examine the rates on all of your debt, fixed and variable, and see what maybe options there are to get a better deal. Check out your credit report often, and also make sure that you have some credit monitoring or theft protection on that for yourselves. I love the last one that we joined in on, which was meet with your financial planner with goals in mind. And folks, if that's just somebody that's kind of a foreign concept to you, if you've never done that before, well, you can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com, because guess what? Ben, Dan, and myself are all financial planners with Brayshaw Financial Group. Yes, this is not our doing the podcast or the radio show here today is not our primary deal. We love doing this because it's an opportunity for us to help our clients and help you engage and have a healthy relationship with your managing your personal finances. And we talk so much about taking the next step in your journey in three-dimensional investing. That's what we're doing here today. And so with all of that, one of the things that you need to make sure you have on your list of the 10 financial New Year's resolutions is to meet your match. And that happens to do with you if you have any employer-employee benefits. Take a look at those and see what you can do to try to maximize every bit of those benefits for yourself.
Yeah, I would say this is probably one of the things that we find, kind of a silly miss, for a lot of people is they might have an employer match around 4% and they're putting in 1 or 2 just to kind of participate and kind of failing to realize that if they just put in another, 2%, if they're doing 2, that they're getting a free contribution to their 401k on top of just making a little bit more of an effort there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a simple way to give yourself a raise, right? If that hasn't happened by nature of your employer or whatever's going on, just kind of upping the ante in what you set aside for retirement and achieving that match or maximizing it can really make a significant difference, particularly over years with a compound effect of interest and returns. It's a really big deal. And there's been a couple other kind of add-on enhancements with the Secure Act that have come out that are going to be soon available in everybody's 401k, things along the lines of additional savings account. So you can deflect more money pre-tax into a savings account for yourselves. And as well, if you happen to have student loans, there's a pay down provision that's going to be tacked on. And there's more changes to come too. RMD's changing the age in which that is going to be required to take place. So all this news around 401k and employer provided retirement plans is going to be coming out here shortly, and there's some significant changes. So number one, it's another reason to engage your financial planner. We're aware of these things and we can help you with that, even if that's not money we directly manage. We have knowledge around these programs to kind of help you navigate the employer end of that. But just be aware of these benefits and services that are available to you because these are all things that you can leverage that literally cost you nothing, just a little bit of attention.
I agree. And I think what's really interesting, too, is that, people say to me all the time, they're like, oh, you're going to help me, rebalance, which is our number 9, review and rebalance your 401k and investment accounts. You're going to help me rebalance and review my 401k. You don't even manage that. I'm like, the conversation what people don't understand as a financial planner is we have to plan for all of the contingencies. We have to plan for all of the successes, all of the financial needs, all of the financial assets. So if you're going to have a successful financial outcome, we obviously want the 401k to be something which is going to be probably one of your larger retirement plans. We want that to perform. We want that to be properly allocated. We want that thing to move in a direction. When you leave that employer, well, we'll bring that in and we'll manage that directly too. But we want that thing to grow for you so that it will help meet the goals of what your financial plan is. I mean, that's the whole point. And I think a lot of people, they just say, oh, here's my investment account or here's my old 401k, and they don't even engage us on their current 401k. And I'm kind of like, why wouldn't you? Why? We want that information.
Yeah, I mean, however the plan gets serviced, a lot of people have an 800 number with some kind of a phone farm of representatives who will take your call and offer you advice.
Graduated from college a few weeks ago and, is answering the phone and knows nothing about investments and is handing you a script that they were told to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, they can dial a pie chart for you and say, oh, this is based upon your age, this is what you need. But the fact of the matter is they have no idea about the rest of your investments, and they don't know if you are going to become grossly overweight in a particular style of fund or ETF.
And
just because the pie chart in your age says do this.
Well,
that's not the whole picture.
And it's all based on a historical demographic that is not the demographic we're moving forward in. So, I mean, basically all the history of how people have made money in the stock market is based off the baby boomers' history of the last 40, 50 years. And now they're all retiring. And as they're retiring, guess what? Now the demographic's different, and you have this massive group of people that are now fully in retirement or getting in retirement that's changing how they invest. So guess what? Supply and demand.
Yeah, you guys, that is an awesome lead in for number 10 for us, which is the beneficiary review. As you're taking a look at those accounts, you want to double check your beneficiaries. Maybe you've had some changes in your family, whatever they are. Take a look and just, first of all, we can't even tell you how many people we talk about the beneficiary review with, and we see that they don't even have beneficiaries in there, which that's not the way to do it. That means that an asset that you have spent probably a lifetime of building, if something happens to you, will pass to the estate, which somebody else decides what happens to that. And that is just counterproductive in the whole process here. You want to be able to bypass that process, and that's what having a beneficiary in there does, is it streamlines that process to make sure that you have decided who you've decided to have that money gets the money without having to pass through the courts.
I love the fact that we, when we tell people you need to do a beneficiary review, it's kind of like, yeah, I need to talk about my beneficiaries, because it's easier to have that conversation than to say, we should talk about estate planning. It's one of those things, it's like, let's review your beneficiaries. Oh, well, the best way to solve this beneficiary is this is going to go through probate. So we should probably put a will and maybe a trust together to avoid probate, to get that, revocable trust in place. And people start getting really concerned about those conversations. So when we talk about estate planning, people put up whoa, that's a big project. So we want to take the whoa out of a big project and say, we have an attorney we have a relationship with. We have relationships with a lot of attorneys. We'll work with your attorney. We have people that can literally draft the documents for you and get that stuff all prepped, totally separate from us, and get you things simplified. It's actually I can't tell you how many people have come in after the fact and said, that was the easiest, so much easier than I ever thought it was going to be. We have this thing like practically ready to stamp for you if you want to just get your power of attorney, your healthcare directives. No one wants a Terry Schiavo case. This is an easy thing to remedy.
Yeah, it's important, and it really, it seems burdensome on the way in, but people leave feeling significantly better having done it. It really, you don't maybe underestimate, how much weight it puts on you to not have that plan be intact. And some people don't even understand the probate process and saying, well, if something were to happen right now, what kind of a mess am I truly leaving? You have assets, people are going to benefit, but how long is it going to take? Is it going to be the way you intended it to be? And
then there's always the classic New Englanders like, well, it's not my problem anymore. I'm gone. Well, you might be leaving dependent children or people who need a scenario, or you just don't want to leave a problem where I know estates that people did not listen to us that are go 4, 5, 6, 8 years before they're resolved. Like long periods of time. That sounds like no way. It just can't possibly be. But hey, it sometimes takes a long time. Even my own family's estate, my parents, they both passed away, and that was a 4 or 5 year process to go through that whole mess. So it's just, things happen. People aren't prepared, and they don't always listen to their son who's a financial planner, and that just is what it is. So,
yeah, we see these horror stories all the time, and this isn't referencing Ben's experience, but families splinter. The arguments and the last thing I would want to see is my children arguing over my bones.
Oh, everyone is bickering about an estate unless you line it out. No. It's bad. So, but do the job. If you're just going to do the beneficiary review, that's definitely a great first step, and then we can help coach you through the rest of it and make that pretty simple.
Folks, you have gotten 10 of our New Year's resolutions, the financial New Year's resolutions here at Money on Tap. If you have any questions or if you have any needs, reach out to us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. We love spending time with you here on a weekly basis. And we look forward to partnering with you in your financial journey. Folks, be successful in your investing. Can't wait to join you here again. You're listening to Money on Tap.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of this radio station and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. No strategy, product, material, or tool mentioned can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information, products, materials, or tools mentioned should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. This show may be subsidized in whole or in part by a product sponsor or issuer. Securities and advisory services offered through SagePoint Financial Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, and a registered investment advisor. All other services offered through Brayshaw Financial Group LLC are independent of SagePoint Financial. SagePoint Financial and Brayshaw Financial Group do not provide tax or legal advice. Main office is located at 116 South River Road, Bedford, New Hampshire, 03110, and can be reached at toll-free 855-226-8551.